234 pages. That's the size of Donald Trump's financial disclosure. And buried inside those 234 pages is the blueprint of how the most powerful man on the planet turned the presidency into the greatest trading desk in history. A $6 billion fortune. Insider trades hidden behind discretionary accounts. A crypto empire built on a coin he launched 3 days before taking office. And an entire Congress that's been beating Wall Street for decades with a $200 fine if they get caught. This is the story of how American power became a hedge fund. Let's start with the number. Donald Trump's net worth sits at $6 billion today. Back in 2017, when he first entered the White House, it was $3 billion. It actually dipped during his presidency. But since his return to power, the trajectory has gone vertical. $5 billion last year, $6 billion this year. And the acceleration is unlike anything Forbes has ever tracked for a sitting president. So where is the money? Crypto, real estate, golf clubs, licensing deals. And then there's Truth Social. Trump's social media company is worth $1.2 billion on paper. The company generated $3.6 million in revenue last year and lost $186 million. Forbes called it one of the most absurd businesses in America, but it's publicly traded and people keep buying because owning Trump stock feels like owning a piece of the movement. But the real story isn't what he owns. It's what he trades. Because on paper, Trump doesn't manage his own portfolio. His disclosure states the accounts are fully discretionary, meaning third-party managers make the calls. We don't know who they are. We don't know what firm. We don't know what instructions they were given. What we do know is the activity. From January 2025 to January 2026, the account was practically dormant. A handful of trades, nothing remarkable. Then, starting January 2026, it exploded. 3,700 transactions in a single quarter. And some of those trades tell a very specific story. February 10th, Trump's account buys Dell stock, somewhere between $1 and $5 million. The exact amount isn't disclosed because financial filings only require ranges, not precision. 1 week later, Trump appears on camera praising Michael Dell as a genius. He announces a new initiative where every American newborn gets a brokerage account funded with $1,000, and Dell is donating $6 billion to make it happen. The stock doubles. Now here's the beautiful part. Michael Dell donated $6 billion of his personal fortune to fund the program. But the moment Trump told America to go buy Dell, the stock price surged so hard that Dell made it all back instantly. Philanthropy with a guaranteed refund. March 25th. Trump's account purchases between $50,000 and $100,000 of Micron stock. The very next day, he calls Fox News and says, quote, "I just left Micron's headquarters. This is the hottest company in America right now." The stock explodes. Same pattern with Apple. Trump calls Tim Cook a genius on live television. That same day, his account buys between $2 and $7 million of Apple stock. He's done this over and over. Exposed filings show dozens of public statements that directly move the price of a stock he either already owned or purchased the same day. And the fine for not disclosing a trade on time? $200. If this is the kind of story you're not getting anywhere else, subscribe. because it gets worse. It's not always a winning formula. He bought Palantir at $180. The stock crashed. He sold, bought back in at $150, talked it up when it hit the bottom. It's still down. He visited Thermo Fisher Scientific, took photos with the team, bought the stock the same day and again a month earlier. The stock went nowhere. Even when you're the president, you can't win every trade. But when you can move markets with a single sentence, you don't need to win every trade. You just need to win enough. Now let's talk about the part that makes Wall Street look like a church fundraiser. Crypto. In 2021, Donald Trump went on Fox Business and called Bitcoin a scam. He said it was a threat to the dollar. He wanted nothing to do with it. Fast forward to 2025, and this same man has launched his own crypto company called World Liberty Financial, created his own stablecoin called USD1, and issued a token you can buy on the open market. If you pull up the gold paper, which is what they call the white paper because of course it has to be gold, you'll find that 60% of all tokens are allocated to insiders and co-founders. 60%. The people who created the coin own most of it. When the token launched, 82% of the trading volume came from large holders dumping their positions. The retail investors who bought in, they were the exit liquidity. Then there's the Trump coin. Launched the weekend before his inauguration, which is already insane if you think about it. It shot up to $73. Today it trades around $2. That's a 97% collapse. But the market cap is still sitting in the hundreds of millions because enough people are still holding the bag. And the Melania coin peaked at $13, now worth a few cents, down over 99%. The vast majority of people who bought these coins lost money. The only ones who profited were the insiders, the family, the inner circle. But here's the real twist. The man who called Bitcoin a scam announced in March 2025 that the United States would create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They're not buying Bitcoin on the open market. They're holding the crypto seized from cartels, criminal organizations, and sanctioned entities. But the signal was clear. The president of the United States just told the world that Bitcoin is a strategic reserve asset, and his family happens to own a crypto company. Now, the real estate. This is Trump's original game. Before the presidency, before the trades, before the coins, he was a New York real estate developer. Trump Tower, 40 Wall Street, buildings on 57th and Avenue of the Americas worth over $1 billion combined, though he's heavily leveraged on both. He once claimed his penthouse was 30,000 square feet. It's 11,000. But the real money isn't the buildings. It's the brand. Hotels in Istanbul that he doesn't own but slaps his name on. Trump watches, Trump phones, Trump steaks, because the name Trump now means proximity to power. And nowhere is that more obvious than Mar-a-Lago. $600 million. Trump himself said it was the best year we've ever had. And he credited the presidential campaign for the revenue boost. Running for president is literally a business strategy. The membership fees at Mar-a-Lago have surged because people aren't paying for a golf club. They're paying for the chance to sit next to the president at dinner, to shake his hand on the 9th hole, to be seen in his orbit. Because when you're president of the United States, a favor from you is worth more than any membership fee. The golf clubs across the US are worth $600 million. 10 courses in 6 states. Profits jumped from $19 million in 2020 to $66 million today. He's got 2 more in Scotland and 1 in Ireland, worth $120 million combined. And now, the PGA, which had pulled its tournaments from Trump properties after January 6th, has come back. Funny how that works when the guy who owns the course also runs the country. But Trump's influence on the markets goes far beyond his personal portfolio. He has the power to move entire sectors with a single policy decision. And the pattern is always the same. Tariffs on, markets crash. Tariffs off, markets recover. On, off, on, off. Wall Street calls it the taco trade. Every time he announces new tariffs, traders who saw it coming short the market. Every time he reverses them, they go long. And the window between the decision being made and the announcement being public, that's where the real money is made. It happened with Iran. When Trump launched military operations, oil futures spiked. But what's disturbing is what happened 10 to 20 minutes before the public announcement. Trading volume on oil futures surged to 9 times the normal level, 9 times the average. Someone knew. We don't know who, but someone was placing massive bets on oil minutes before the president told the world he was going to war. The same thing happened on Polymarket. Someone predicted the exact day of the Iran strike. Someone else predicted the exact day of the Maduro kidnapping attempt. These aren't lucky guesses. These are people with access to information that doesn't exist yet for the rest of us. And here's the thing. This isn't just a Trump problem. This is the system. Meet Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House, one of the most powerful politicians in American history. Her stock portfolio has returned 712% since 2014. The S&P 500 over the same period, 231%. She didn't just beat the market. She tripled it. Technically, it's her husband Paul who makes the trades. But Nancy sits on committees that interrogate the CEOs of the companies they invest in. She has access to draft legislation that will determine which sectors boom and which ones collapse. 10 minutes before a committee hearing decides not to find Google, her husband buys Alphabet. Coincidence after coincidence after coincidence. There are entire apps now dedicated to tracking congressional trades. You can literally copy Nancy Pelosi's portfolio in real time. Except you can't. Not really. Because members of Congress have 45 days to disclose their trades. And some of them just don't. Because the penalty, $200. $200. That's the price of breaking the rules when you're trading millions. And it's not just Pelosi. In 2025, dozens of members of Congress outperformed the S&P 500. These are career politicians. They're not hedge fund managers. They're not quant traders. They're people who sit in rooms where the future of entire industries is decided behind closed doors. And then they trade on it. It's the greatest information asymmetry in the history of financial markets. And it's completely legal. What's almost comical is that Trump himself called out Pelosi for this exact practice. He stood in front of Congress, pointed his finger directly at her, called it exactly what it was, insider trading. And the chamber erupted. Every senator, every representative, standing ovation, both sides of the aisle. And then they did nothing. Because every single person clapping in that room was doing the exact same thing. Trump once said something that perfectly captures the philosophy behind all of this. He said he took a lot of finance courses at Wharton. First, they taught him all the rules and regulations. And then They taught him that all those rules and regulations were made to be broken. The President of the United States has the keys to power, the keys to information, and the keys to the market. His family runs a crypto empire built on tokens they mostly own. His portfolio trades in sync with his public statements. His golf clubs profit from his political influence. His real estate empire sells proximity to the most powerful office on earth. And every member of Congress is playing the same game, with a $200 fine as the only guardrail. $6 billion. That's what the presidency is worth. Not the salary, not the pension, the access, the influence, the ability to move markets with a sentence and trade on the movement. And you get the financial disclosure. 234 pages of ranges, estimates, and discretionary accounts. Just enough transparency to call it democracy. Not enough to see what's actually happening.